Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi Arc 3 Chapter 2. It's your boy Karagol Gaming, and you know how we do things around here. We're just gonna continue on. We're just gonna start Chapter 2 today. Let's get rid of that. Mouse has no business being on screen. Okay, hold on. I can see that this thing right here is still showing. Why? It should be off. Oh, it's on. Okay, no wait. There we go. And now it's gone. Alright, whatever. Mion gleefully announced the beginning of lunch. In Rena's case, I don't think she would lose even if she wasn't taking it seriously. I scratched my head and gave her a dry smile. My bento today had been made entirely by Satoko last night. It had none of my personality, so there wasn't anything there that they could praise me for. Was it really better to hide the fact that Satoko came over and made dinner last night? Well, of course it was. If I revealed that I didn't make my own bento, I would be sure to end up playing the punishment game. Today's punishment game was to stand right in front of the curry maniac Chia-sensei and say bad things about curry. It wasn't too different from telling someone to jump out of a 100th story window. It was exactly the same as telling someone to die. My simple bento with last night's leftovers could have never stood up to everyone else's bento that they made to win. I fully understood Satoko and Rika-chan's concern for me as they tried to end the showdown peaceably. However, the club president, Mion Sonozaki, would not be convinced by something like that. This was bad. At this rate, I was sure to be the sole loser. But, well, I didn't make this bento after all. Maybe I need to resign myself to my inevitable loss. Would be some bullshit if Satoko lost now. True. Mion commanded everyone, who had just started eating, using her club president voice. Everyone in the class was used to being dragged into Mion's club activities. Yeah! What? Came the energetic voices from here and there. Everyone already knew that the showdown this time involved an utterly fatal punishment game. So if they already know what's at stake, they would just... I don't know, how would we... No one would vote for me. And they were all very interested in what would happen to whoever lost. See? Me. They want me to lose. Of course, they want to see the thrill of seeing something terrifying.
では、まずは私から行くよ。それ。
You can't do that. You can't present it as yours. It has to be completely random, or else, you know, they will pick favorites. In an exaggerated fashion, Mion pulled the lid off her multi-tiered ornate bento box. Multiple cheers of joy erupted at the brilliant sight.
すごいですわね。おせち料理みたいでしたよ。
嘘だ。嘘に決まってる。こんなのどこかの仕出し弁当の中身を移し替えただけに違いない。こんな純日本風な料理をミオンが園崎ミオンが作れるわけがない。
ミオンが？
みーちゃん、このくらいは本気になれば作れるよ。めったに本気にならないけど。おじさんを誰だと思ってるわけ？時間と材料があるなら満館全席だって再現してみせるよ。
Interesting question. Where is Shion, motherfucker? The entire classroom gulped audibly, and everyone wrote down a score on the notepaper in their hands simultaneously. It made sense. Just the visual impact would give her a perfect score.
じゃあ次はレナのお弁当行ってみようか。レナもかなり料理は得意だからね。レナのお弁当はいつも食卓の花なのですよ。みんなありがとね。じゃあレナのお弁当も公開するね。
Rena's bento was a beautiful mix of the two colors of egg and minced meat, and it too was a bento staple. The Soboro bento. She had been thorough with the side dishes as well, and they were in abundant number. She had spent more time than usual on it, but it was unassuming and truly nonchalant. One couldn't ignore the household warmth in it that Mion's bento lacked.
さすがですわね。これは高得点が期待できましたよ。さすが。厳しめに見ても減点の余地は全くないね。相変わらず見事。
Once again, every one of the judges wrote a score on the notepaper at the same time. There seemed to be some who were revising their opinions when they compared it to Mion's score too. The whole classroom seemed split between Mion and Rena, and on everyone's face, it was clear that they all wanted to be tasting them rather than scoring them.
では、続いて僕たちなのです。では公開するでございますわよ。
Come to think of it, Satoko and Rika-chan ate with me last night at my house. It was impressive that they still made a bento. Both their bentos were clearly lacking compared to Mion's artfulness and Rena's perfection. However, because of that, you could sense from them how hard they worked. The toppings were a little on the rough side, but you could still feel that they tried their hardest. It made you feel a little bit biased, so that you would give them more points. A few people struck by just that once again, revised their opinions and wrote on scores on the note. What is this sentence?
サトコもリカちゃんもよく今日のお弁当を用意できたもんだな。レナやミオンの出来には確かに劣るかもしれないけど、それを考えるとかなりすごいことだぜ。
Satoko and Rika-chan glanced at each other and grinned happily.
実は内緒でございますのよ。こにょこにょこにょこにょ。
Anya? What the fuck you say to me? What? When Satoko told me, I broke off from the others and secretly looked for my own classmates' bento boxes. There, Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun's bento boxes. I took a quick peek inside and... Half of the contents were missing, you cheeky shit. Not bad. In the end, Satoko and Rika-chan hadn't made bento today. A bold move. They got Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun to share their bento boxes with them.
おい、富田君、岡村君、何を条件に買収された？
Kisses.
いきなり何ですか前原さん。私たちがいつ何を買収されたって言うんですか。そうっすよ。別に聡子たちに水やり当番を代わってもらうくらいで弁当を半分なんか。
Well played. Curse you, Satoko. What an impudent trick. Curse her, bro. She got you. Bro, you would have been ass out without her. Are you kidding me? Satoko grinned, showing her fang-like canines, and laughed in triumph.
あら、これはケイチさんに学ばせてもらった技ですのよ。
Like I said, well played.
なのです。
How naive, buying them out with watering duty alone. They're men. If you're going to buy them out, you need to use something a lot spicier than that. For example, like giving them 3 tickets to walk Satoko and Rika-chan around like dogs all day, with them on all fours wearing tails and leashes around their necks. You need serious help, bro. Whoa. That would... Yep, that might be enough to... What the fuck? As I was lost in my wild fantasies, Mion clapped me on the shoulder and called me back to reality. Damn, it was just getting good. Well, you fucking nasty bitch!
さて、次はいよいよケイちゃんのお弁当だね。
Kei-chan sickens me.
ケイちゃんの昨日の予告だとかなりのものが期待されるけど、実際はどうなのかな。ケイチくんってやるときにはやる人だからね。レナ、今日はとっても楽しみにしてたんだよ。
They're all looking forward to it. But it's really just leftovers from dinner last night. I didn't even make it either. How was that supposed to stand up to Mion and Rena and the others?
もうやけだ！見て驚くなよ！
I tore the lid of my bento box. There weren't very many cheers. Well, I guess there wouldn't be. Hey, you said you wouldn't laugh! What the fuck?
ケイチくんも精一杯頑張ったんだね。
Shut your face,
レナはその頑張りわかるよ。
asshole.
レナ、無理に褒めなくていいぞ。
どんな具合ですの？ケイチさんにしては頑張ってる方ですの？まあ頑張りは認めてあげたいけどね。勝負は非常だしね。
Mion's cold, mean laugh. It was like it spoke for everyone's opinion, just like that.
ケイチくん、初挑戦なのにこんなに上手に作れたんだよ。みんなもっともっと評価してあげてもいいと思うんだけどな。でも勝負は非常なのです。さーてケイちゃん、採点結果を集計する前に何か申し開きがあるなら聞いておくけど。
申し開きってなんだよ。
ケイちゃんがここで何かを訴えることでわずかな得点加算が望めるかもしれないってこと。何しろ今日の勝負はビリでさえなければいいんだから、うまくすればなんとか罰ゲームから逃れることができるかもよ。それって暗にケイチさんのお弁当がビリって言ってるのと同じことでしてよ。別におじさん、誰の弁当がビリなんて言ったつもりはないんだけどな。
Mion cackled repulsively. In contrast, Satoko's smile was growing somehow awkward. Oh, right. This bento was filled with last night's side dishes. That means it was basically a bento that Satoko made. and Mion outright said it would come in last place. Oh.
みーちゃん、ちょっと意地悪だよ。ケイチくんがかわいそう。レーナ、ケイちゃんも今日の弁当勝負は負けられないってあらかじめ知ってたんだよ。それを承知で昨日あれだけのお見栄を切ったんだからさ、甘やかす必要なんて全然ないと思うけどな。ねえ、さとこ。
Why Satoko in particular?
そうですわね。それでこのざまなんですから笑っちゃいましたよ。ちょっとさとこちゃん、笑うなんていけないんだよ。
You laughed at me.
だってちゃんちゃらおかしくて笑ってしまうようなお弁当でしたよ。こんなお惣菜屋さんで買ってきたようなおかず、本当に幻滅もいいところでしたよ。
She said with tears in her eyes.
ほら、これなんか缶詰を開けただけだよね。こっちのキュウリは包丁が通ってなくて綺麗に切れてないし。ケイちゃん、包丁とか全然扱ったことないでしょ。経験不足が明らかなんだよね。経験不足もいいところでございましたよ。彩りもかなり単調。こればかりはセンスのなさに呆れるね。
そりゃ弁当箱に食い物を詰めるなんて初めての経験だし、多少見栄えが悪いのは仕方が。
ケイちゃん、弁当箱への詰め方以前のレベルなの。富田、岡村、解説。
Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun were chosen from our many underclassmen. Tomita-kun quickly adjusted his glasses and took a step forward.
前原さんのお弁当に致命的な欠点、それは彩りなんです。
I'll colorize your fucking face, bitch. What the fuck you mean?
ご存知の通り、あらゆる色彩の根底には三原色と呼ばれる配色が存在します。つまりバランスよく配色を求めるなら、白、黒を除いても3色は必要なのです。
しかるに前原さんのお弁当は白黒を除いた場合、暗緑色しか残らないんですよ。
Where am I gonna get blue, bitch? No one will want to eat it if you describe it like that. I had forgotten. Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun had been bought out by Rika-chan and Satoko, so they were trying their hardest to let them win and make me lose, weren't they? What strong wills they have. It was charming, if only because they were working so hard despite having been bought out.
おかずも心のこもらないお惣菜や缶詰ばかり。
Sir?
つまり前原さんのお弁当にはお弁当の三大要素、愛、心、味のうち2つも欠けていると断言できるのです。
The classroom, convinced by the elucidation of the mystery they were thoroughly baffled with, raised mysterious groans of admiration. Say coo 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 again.
愛もなければ心もない。決まったね、前原圭一。ちょっと冷たいけど、でもこれを機に圭一くんもお料理の楽しさに気づいてくれればいいのかな。そんなことより罰ゲームが僕以外なら何でもいいのですよ。
Rena was giving a dry smile as well.
決まりましたわね、圭一さん。罰ゲームは圭一さんで決まりですのよ。
Alright, have we counted the results from the voting of our classmates? Hello? She laughed in such a vile manner, but she didn't look like she meant it. I knew that Satoko was speaking ill of a bento that she had practically made herself in front of the whole classroom, and I could tell how painful that laughter was. Okumura-kun said before that this bento lacked spirit, but among all the bento laid out there today, there wasn't a single one with as much spirit as this one. This meal that she made for me yesterday in such a good mood, though it looked like she was in a bad one, I won't let it end with this slander.
さて、ビリの圭一さん、そろそろおとなしく負けを認めなさいませ。
ちょっと待ってもらおうか。
When I began to speak in a low voice, the expressions of all the members of the club changed. Mion clicked her tongue. This man was burying his fangs at the last moment again.
俺の弁当の敗因は心がないから。そういう解説だったな。間違いないな、岡村君。
Okumura-kun, who had suddenly been placed in the spotlight, looked flustered for a moment, but immediately he stammered in reply that I was right.
心の定義は何だ？苦労か？
Objection!
努力か？汗か涙か？その結晶か？ならば俺の手に残るこの火傷はなん？
圭一君、それ油が跳ねたやけど？
Great. The burn marks from when I almost caused a fire yesterday looked just like I was having a ton of trouble cooking. I could clearly tell that the classroom was forced to acknowledge the effort I put into it.
お自らの料理の下手さによる失敗をさも努力の痕跡であるかのように見せると、やはりこの男油断ならない。
そうだ、俺は下手だ。昨日大見えを切ったのが情けなくなるくらいに料理は下手だ。戦った。そしてこの成果を出した。それは心じゃないのか？どうなんだ？
レナは認めてあげたいな。挑戦する心が評価されなかったら誰も前に進めない。
The girls in the class started to nod in agreement. Okay, the tables are turning. But Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun, brought up by the objects of their unrequited affection, weren't about to lose either. They shifted to the counterattack, clearly exceeding the price they were paid.
なるほど。前原さんの気持ちはわかります。ですがね、心だけで料理が決まるんだったらこの世にコックはいらないんですよ。
そうっすよ。心を込めて頑張りましたって言ってコックが消し炭みたいなハンバーグを持ってきたらそれにお金を払います？
But this is not burnt, this is fucking fully edible, bitch!
払わないですよね。つまりそういうことなんです。
That's right, that's how it goes. The male students took Tomita and Okumura's side. They did have a point.
でも心尽くしなんだぞ。たとえ真っ黒のハンバーグが出てきたにせよ、それを作ってくれた母の苦労を知るなら俺は食う。完食してみせる。
Clap, 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 clap. This time, the female students in the class took my side. Good. Now we're even.
そもそもお弁当というのは愛情を食事の形として昇華させたもので、
それは相手に伝わって初めて意味があるんです。前原さんのお弁当からはそれが伝わりますか？
How the fuck should I know that?
いいえ、僕には伝わりません。
You don't have to be so blunt.
ひどい。
Facts. The girls in the class began to boo loudly at his remark. Now even Okumura-san was panicking. Boo this bitch!
ああ、静粛に静粛に。傍観人は発言を慎むように。
裁判長、俺はここでこの弁当にどれだけの心が込められているかについて料理学の権威竜宮レナ氏の証言を求めます。
Objection!
レナはこのお弁当には心がこもってると思うな。
Nothing further, Your Honor.
確かに稚拙なところは多いかもしれないけど、
Shut the fuck up, Rena. You made your point.
でもお料理は上辺だけじゃないと思うの。
The girls in the class again gave cries of support as they all applauded. In response, all the men in the class began to boo.
裁判長、
The fuck, this is turning into gender wars.
前原さんと竜宮さんの意見は極めて感情的で一般常識としてかけ離れています。採用するには不適切です。
静粛に静粛に。検察側の反証を認めます。どうぞ。
例えば本件をお弁当ではなく誕生日のプレゼントだ。例えば誕生日の日に私富田が手編みのセーターをもらったとする。そして彼岡村は 図書券を1万円分もらったとする。
That felt strangely real. Was it actually just an example?
常識的に考えてどちらに心がこもっているかは明白です。つまり手編みのセーター。
Of course.
これはお弁当に言い換えれば手作りのおかずが相当する。そして単なる金券に過ぎない図書券はお金で買うもの、すなわち無味簡素な缶詰に相当する。
I can get behind that. The boys and girls all began to argue amongst themselves about presents. They were all talking about what they received as presents in the past. Damn. Tomita-kun, he changed the subject to something that could easily grab everyone's attention. Not bad. I'll lose the initiative at this rate.
意義あり。本件はお弁当の心について問うものです。誕生日のプレゼントという特殊な状況とは全く異なる。
却下します。検察側続けなさい。
Damn!
さて、ここで大事なのは送り手の心と受け手の心は全く違うという点です。皆さんの目の前に実際に手作りのちょっと左右の竹の崩れてるセーターと1万円分の図書券が置かれていて、どっちがいいと聞かれたらどっちを取ります？図書券でしょう。1万円ですよ、1万円。コミックスが何冊買えるか計算できますか？十数巻程度の単行本なら即座にフルコンプ可能です。愉快で面白おかしい漫画が何十冊。これによって癒される心の至福とセーターでは比べ物にならないのです。
The boys unanimously praised that with applause. Materialistic brats? But all guys that age are like that. Even I would choose the gift certificate over the sweater in that case. Hey, wait, weren't you guys the ones who said it was about love, spirit, and taste right at the start? Since when did taste trump all? That's the stance they were taking now?
以上より送り手の心と受け手の心には何の因果関係もないことが立証されたと思います。つまり前原さんがどれだけ苦労してお弁当を作ろうとも、それは私たち受け手が採点に手心を加えるものにはなり得ないのです。
それは詭弁だぞ。富田、心は確かにある。それが伝わるかどうかは受け手の問題だ。
そうよそうよ。
味が全てだ。
女の敵。
What?
なんだと？
Ah, now the courtroom is in chaos. But I can't allow myself to lose. And not only to avoid the punishment game, but also to protect Satoko's honor.
さて、弁護側は今のに何か反論はある？
Slowly and strongly, I nod and step up to the day. Days? Day? Is the S silent or not? Days? Tomita-kun, Okumura-kun, do you two really think you can beat me with mere words? Let's just grab Satoshi's bat.
今検察側は送り手の心とは無関係に評価が行われ
Beat
ると
y'all
言い
up
ました。
physically.
それに間違いはありませんね。
At some point, I began speaking formally.
そうです。前原さんがどんなに苦労して作ったお弁当でもその苦労は評価の対象にはなり得ない。
では検察側に尋ねます。私前原が今日の自分の弁当としてこのお弁当とコンビニ弁当を並べたらその評価はどちらも同じものなのですか？
The prosecution hesitated to speak. Got you.
そう、手作りの弁当とコンビニ弁当ではどんなにひどい手作り弁当であってもただ買ってきただけのコンビニ弁当とではそしてそれは評価されている。つまり 手作りによる心はちゃんと受け手に伝わってるのです。それを認めよ
う。Boom, bitch! With those impactful words drawn into the air behind me, I pointed my finger. The girls, led by Rena, broke into applause. Some other boys were admitting it too.
認めましたね。では次にコンビニ弁当にはなぜ心がないかについて移りましょう。そもそも弁当で伝える心とは何なのか。
意義あり。前原さんは抽象表現で法廷を煙に巻こうとしています。
却下します。面白そうだから最後まで聞くように。
Got him. Now I'll show you two the difference between us.
裁判長、ここでフルでリカシを証人として喚問したいと思います。
みー。
Even for Rika-chan, that must have seemed like a bolt from the blue. There was no doubt that she never dreamed the point of my spear would be aiming at her. Some of these sentences, fucking hell, bro. But Rika-chan, you said it before. For this showdown, it doesn't matter.
フルでリカさん、あなたの今日のお弁当は実によくできていますね。美味しそうです。
Yes. Satoko and Rika-chan's bentos had been made half of Tomita-kun's and Okumura-kun's. The prosecutor's faces turned pale, but they were too late.
レナ、岡村くんの弁当箱を持ってきてくれないか。
Uh-oh.
いいよ。
裁判長、本件に僕のお弁当は何の関係もありません。
却下します。
裁判長、この岡村くんの弁当箱を証拠品として提出します。見よ、この中身を。
半分しか入っていないね。
半分かどうかじゃないでしょう。もっとよく見てください。ほら。
全く同じ内容だ。
裁判長、見ての通りです。
Fucking snitch.
フルでリカシのお弁当は岡村くんの盗品。そんなものに心がこもってるわけがない。
いや、これは単なる偶然で。
もう明白でしょう。心とは送り手と受け手のキャッチボール。ならば弁当箱はボールに当たるのです。そして本来このお弁当は岡村くんの母親から息子に託されたものだから、この弁当箱に詰まった心は岡村くんにしか受けられない。それを割り込んで奪ったらもうそれに心はないのです。
Dun dun dun! Yeah, that did it.
そうなの？リカちゃん、そうなの？みぱー。なるほどね。
Mion, the judge, folded her arms and began to hum. I couldn't even take a guess as to what Mion was laughing about. Frankly, I didn't know whether I would win or lose.
よし、判決の前に主文からにしようかね。
The entire classroom quieted.
まず、被告前原圭一の弁当が客観的評価として非常に出来の悪いものであるのは間違いない。それはこうしてみんなの採点の集計結果が物語ってるからね。でもケイちゃんの言う通り、料理は味だけじゃない。心もまた隠し味として認められるべきだよね。でもそれは得点評価で言えば小数点以下。本当に微細なもので、その出来具合の評価を改めるには至らない。さて、ここでそもそもの今日の弁当勝負の原点を探りたい。そもそも今日の勝負は何が大前提なのか。そう、被告前原圭一が自炊できるか否かが問題になり、その成果を測るた
そうだよ。圭一くんはちゃんと作ってきたよ。
That stung my conscience a bit, but for the showdown, it didn't matter.
の勝負の大前提は自炊、すなわち手作りであるか否かだよね。でもリカちゃんはそれを怠ったとなると、それは出来以前の問題、すなわち失格ってことになるのかな。
ニパ
Rika-chan let out a nipa, looking as though she had prepared herself for this outcome.
悪く思うなよ、リカちゃん。部活は非常なのだ。
Nah, snitches get stitches, bruh.
ーン、さすが圭一なのです。最後の最後まで頑張りましたですよ。
Rika-chan demanded I lower my head and then she petted.
というわけでこれにて一件落着。今日のビリはフルでリカ。
Uh-oh. That miraculous turnaround. And last place went to Rika-chan, the one everyone had least expected. The whole classroom went wild.
よくもこんなひどいお弁当でビリを免れましたのね。
Satoko looked at me hatefully, but spoke in a vague kind of voice.
ビリになんかなるわけないだろ。この弁当のどこにビリになる要素があるってんだ。
Aw.
だってこんな出来の悪いお惣菜や缶詰ばかりでセンスもなくて、それから
Hey, don't be so rough on yourself, yeah? Satoko was speaking more and more poorly of herself as time went on, so I roughly grabbed her head and began to stroke it.
言ったろ、心が大事だって。この弁当は上辺だけじゃない。いろんな味に溢れてるんだぜ。
でも心だけじゃありませんのよ。お味なんて全然変で。
どこが変なんだ。俺はうまい。
Uh-oh.
うまかった。だから詰めてきた。本当に夕べの飯がまずかったら詰めてなんか来ないぞ。食パンと牛乳パックを持って登校してくる。
でも
Can you guys handle this outside of the classroom? Or just shut the fuck up already. I caressed her head, swinging it from side to side. At some point, Rena had come up behind us. She was giggling to herself. That was the face of someone who had known everything from the beginning.
いつ頃から俺が作ったんじゃないって気づいてた。
Uh-oh.
圭一くんがやけどを見せてくれた時かな。だって圭一くんのお弁当に油で炒めるおかずなんか入ってないし。レナさんは何か誤解してるではございませんの？私は別に何も。あれ？このお弁当、さとこちゃんが作ったんじゃないんだ。じゃあやっぱり圭一くんの手作りなのかな。
Listen, man, everybody just go home, alright?
じゃあ圭一くんの手作りなんだね。
Rena smiled roguishly and turned from Satoko to me.
きゅうりとかを切るときは包丁をほらこんな感じで引くの。彩りなんかはね、お野菜を上手に加えるといろいろ表現ができるんだよ。
This lecture was clearly not meant for me.
でも前に見せてもらった時よりもずっと上達してたよ。ちゃんとお勉強してるんだね。きっとこの調子ならもっともっと上手にお料理が作れるようになるよ。
She continued saying words clearly meant for Satoko while facing me instead. Satoko was wearing an ambiguous look and couldn't even nod her head at her.
とにかく誰が何と言おうと俺は今日の弁当を気に入ってるんだ。今日ばかりは誰にも分けないからな。俺が一人で全部食う。
あ、ケチなんだ。レナも食べてみたいな。
No, no bento for you. As we were going back and forth, Satoko rubbed her eyes as though she was drowsy, then announced to Mion and everyone else.
私も実は
Shit.
富田さんにお弁当を分けてもらいましたの。
バカ。
Baka indeed.
校長、なんて言っちゃうんだよ。
If she had shut the fuck up for a little bit more, she would have at least been saved. Tomita-kun looked at her with an expression filled with regret and surprise.
そうだったの？本当？
ありゃ。
Mion spun her finger around and pointed to the hallway, sentencing Satoko to the punishment game as well. Satoko left the classroom behind her, completely prepared as though she was going with Rika-chan on an errand.
リカだけに行かせられませんわ。
That's a good friend right there.
地獄の底までお付き合いしましたよ。
Interesting choice of words.
そんなとこまでついてこなくていいのですよ。まったくケイイチさんも嫌味ですわね。リカだけを晒し者にするなんて本当に意地悪な人でございますこと。
I didn't mean... I couldn't just return Satoko's kindness with malice.
ね、本当にサトコはおバカさんなのですよ。
Rika-chan spoke so that only I could hear, grinning happily.
ではそろそろ行きましてよリカ。罰ゲームも部活メンバーの務めでございますわ。
Satoko seemed awfully happy, not frustrated in the slightest like she always was when she lost. Damn. Rika-chan's right after all. Everyone here is a moron. What?
ミオ、俺も白状するぞ。今日の弁当は俺が作ったんじゃない。俺も同じだ。だから行ってくるぞ。罰ゲーム。
Uh-oh.
ケイちゃんまで？どうなってんの？
頑張ってね。罰ゲーム。救急箱を用意して待ってるからね。
あらかじめ救急車の手配を頼む。場合によっては霊柩車だな。
Leaving a bewildered Mion and a happily smiling Rena behind in the classroom, I went into the hallway.
何やってるんですの？せっかく買ってたのに。わざわざ罰ゲームに名乗りを上げるなんて物好きにも程があるでございましたよ。
I didn't necessarily win, I just didn't lose.
そうだな。物好きにも程があるぜ。
まったく今日の罰ゲームを甘く見すぎですのよ。私たちならともかくケイイチさんじゃ大変なことになってしまうかもしれませんわね。
You sound worried.
肋骨の1本や2本の覚悟は終わりでしょうね。
肋骨は痛そうだな。俺痛いのはダメなんだ。
ケイイチさんはおとなしく私の相槌を打っているんですのよ。私とリカでうまくやりますから。まったく罰ゲームの面倒まで私が見なくちゃダメなんて。まったく。
I already knew that her pouty behavior was a sign that she was actually in a really good mood, so it made me want to smile.
なあ、俺さ、野菜炒めが食いたいんだけど、さとこ作れるか？
は？まあ頑張ればできないことはありませんわよ。上手に作れますですよ。さとこの野菜炒めは大好きなのです。
She was uneasy at first, but once she got the assurance from Rika-chan, she turned back and looked at me with once more confident eyes.
じゃあ決まりだな。今日学校が終わったらいろいろ買い物に行こうぜ。俺じゃあ何を買えばいいのか全然わかんないし。
それもそうですわね。ケイイチさんじゃスーパーでお買い物なんてまだまだ早いで。私が見てなければ不安ですからね。そのさとこも僕が見てないと間違えたお買い物をしちゃうんじゃないかと不安なのです。リカみー。
The conversation continued as we walked until we arrived before the door to the teacher's lounge.
さて、罰ゲームなんかちゃっちゃと済ませて、今晩の献立の話でもしようぜ。
Rika-chan gleefully grabbed onto my arm. In turn, I pulled Satoko to me, grabbing her shoulder with my other hand.
死ぬときゃみんな一緒だぜ。誰も一人でなんか死なせない。
みんなで一緒です。誰も一人でなんか死なせないのです。不謹慎な話ですわね。私はそんな物騒なのごめんですわよ。
She may have sounded annoyed, but she was so happy it was gonna make me blush.
よし、この扉一枚向こうは死後の世界だぞ。みんなで戻るぞ。みんなでだ。
ええ、みんなでですわよ。では行きますわよ。
Slam! We opened the doorway to the world of death. And like she did every day, just as the sun rose in the eastern sky, that a fucking bowl of curry? Chie-sensei was eating curry for lunch. It was store-bought, but she made a point of eating different brand every day.
あら、前原くんに古出さんに北条さん、どうかしましたか?
Not yet, but it's about to be. She appeared to be in the middle of a moment of supreme bliss, her mouth full of her beloved curry. And we were about to pick a fight with her. What a crime this punishment game would be. However, it's what we had to do. For that was the rule of our club. The three of us held each other's shoulders tightly once more.
じゃあ行くぜ。いいか。
いいかじゃありませんわ。圭一さんはおとなしくしてるんですのよ。すべて私と理科でやりますから、私に今だけ命をお預け遊ばせ。ファイト、おーですよ。
あなたたち?
Oh no. We could see 2 or 3 question marks popping up above the teacher's head. Alright, Satoko. This is the only time I will trust you with my life. Because I'll be shutting my eyes tightly and only thinking about what we'll be having for dinner. I'm leaving it to you. Satoko inhaled deeply. And so?
やーい、カレー独身貴族、ニンニク臭いぞ。
Oh. In the end, my selfish request was readily granted. As Satoko muttered complaints under her breath, quite merrily, she came with me to the store. Rika-chan didn't come with us. She said she had a thing she wanted to do or something. I believed her when she told me, or is that like a... Or maybe they explain it here. But when I really thought about it, I started to think that maybe she was being considerate towards Satoko in her own way, exactly. Without Rika-chan here, Satoko was prouder and more loquacious than ever. I think I said it right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna get corrected to fuck, man, bro. Shit.
いいですこと?
No.
スーパーというものにはタイムサービスというものがあるんですのよ。例えば野菜炒めに欠かせない豚肉ももう少し待つと半額にまで下がるんですの。お肉やお魚は鮮度が下がったら売れませんからね。お店も売れ残さないように土壇場では安くしてくれるってわけなんですねよ。もちろん百戦錬磨の主婦の皆様もそれを熟知していて、こうしてサービスタイムが近づいてくると。
I wasn't really listening to her, but she was telling me all this quite proudly. Every time I seemed surprised at something or made an affirmative grunt in a place of conversation, Satoko would say, "You don't know fucking shit, do you, Keiichi-san?" and smile very happily in spite of her complaints. She led me by the hand to all sorts of stalls, one after the other. She was in such a supreme mood that just being with her cheered me up. Merely being pulled into Satoko's pace was a lot of fun.
おい、どうせならこっちのお得用パックにしようぜ。お、こっちのチーズ入りにもかなり惹かれるものが。
圭一さんは経済観念が欠落しすぎですわ。ご覧なさいませ。予算オーバー。お金が足りないのですわよ。
Satoko pushed a handful of receipts in my face. Why can't Satoko do these kind of mental calculations when she's at school?
くそー。ノーマルは腹いっぱいたくさん買うか、ワンランク上のチーズ入りをつつましく買うか。これはかなり悩む。
おとなしく量を取りなす。年頃の男の方は質より量を取った方が賢明でしたよ。
チェ、サトコは厳しすぎだよ。質も量も両方取りたい。この男心がなぜわからん。
男心でお財布は膨らみませんのよ。
Touché.
まったく。未練がましくガラスに貼り付かないんですの。
After enjoying ourselves in such an exchange, we started to hear energetic voices coming from over by the butcher we visited earlier. I could see a handful of housewives flooding the place.
いけませんわ。早く行かないと半額豚肉がなくなってしまいますわ。
あいてててててて、引っ張るな。襟首を引っ張るな。
Satoko really seemed like she was having a lot of fun. She looked like a kid who had grabbed her family's hands while running towards an amusement park attraction. In the end, the bag of pork we obtained was so normal that it almost hurt, but I knew that it would taste absolutely delicious. Outside, at some point, the cicadas had been replaced by the Higurashi's chorus. I thought cicadas were Higurashis. The air was so clear and it felt so good. Our silhouettes stretching out on the ground made for a really wonderful picture. We had filled our bicycle baskets to the brim with our shopping bags. They only contained ingredients and various other foodstuffs. Even so, every last thing packed in them sorta looked really happy and made me feel really happy in turn.
夕食の買い物ってのもおつなものだな。晩飯が楽しみになるっていうか、待ち遠しくなるっていうか。
What's that car doing over there? It's quite suspicious.
それもまた自炊の楽しみでしたよ。お買い物のうちからもう夕食は始まっているんですもの。
野菜炒め、うちのお袋のメニューにはさ、野菜炒めってないんだよ。だから中華屋で外食する時くらいにしか食べられないんで、今日は本当に楽しみ。
それはお気の毒でございますこと。では今日は特別に美味しいのをご披露して差し上げましたよ。
Normally, right about now was the time I would start messing with her, but I didn't.
ああ、さとこならきっとうまい野菜炒めを作ってくれる。すごく楽しみだよ。
She stammered for a second. Satoko had been prepared for me to start making fun of her right then too, and when it didn't come, she was quite surprised. Or maybe she stammered for some other reason, I don't know. But I immediately knew that she wasn't feeling anything bad.
とびきり美味しいのをごちそうしましたよ。楽しみにして遊ばせ。
As Satoko and I rode back on our bikes, I had a thought. Was I this sort of person? Until now, I would have lashed back at Satoko right away if she did something to me. Yeah, that was the kind of relationship we had. We would poke at each other a little, then kick up a storm while nitpicking at one another. At some point, that had changed. We weren't playing our usual tit for tat. I didn't provoke her, so we didn't fight. That went for Satoko too. Satoko, who I thought I knew, hadn't been like this until now. Our relationship was changing little by little. That's what it felt like. But it wasn't something I had to worry about. It was like our relationship had become a little bit happier, a little bit more charming. I wonder why we changed like this. Was she lonely and projecting her older brother Satoshi, who hadn't returned home, onto me? Rika-chan told me about that yesterday. That was probably exactly it. So, as my actions drew closer to Satoshi's, Satoko was returning to how she would have been when she was living happily with her brother. In other words, this Satoko was the real Satoko. Satoko had been able to see her brother again and had finally gone back to normal. Now that I had been playing the role of her brother, I had discovered that she really could smile so sweetly. But I wasn't Satoshi Hojo. I was Keiichi Maibara, a totally different person. I couldn't become her brother. I could come close, but I could never really get there. That was vaguely, somehow, a little sad. I was wearing Satoshi's mantle, and that would have to come off one day. And that would doubtlessly put an end to this meager, nostalgic, peaceful time of Satoko's. A limited tranquility. A tranquility that would end one day. Putting it in those terms, it really was sad. I shook my head firmly and drove off those pointless thoughts.
どうしましたのケイチ。
ごめん、なんでもないよ。
なんでもないならそんな変なことしないでくださいませね。何か悪いものでも食べたんじゃないかと不安になってしまいますわ。
へいへい、ごめんよ、さとこ。
nagging like always, but she still seemed really happy. That mood of hers drew me in, putting a smile on my own face. Hey Keiichi Maibara, why don't we quit thinking about this having to end one day, huh? If it will, then just think about it when that happens. There was one thing, however, that I could say for sure. As long as I smile like this, Satoko's own smile would never wane. So as long as I stay this way, this tranquility would never end. Satoshi would come back one day too. That might happen a lot further away than I would like, but until that day, what's wrong with me being a replacement for him? Saying that I'm not her real brother so I can't become Satoshi, that was just an excuse. If I didn't just run away, Satoko would stay happy and live a fun life of annoyed nitpicking. I don't know what happened to Satoshi or what made him abandon Satoko and run away, but just seeing Satoko in such a good mood made me think I could persevere as long as I needed to. Well, he was quite known for his perseverance as well, wasn't he? So this is what I thought. I wouldn't become Satoshi, I would become a replacement brother.
So, 俺はこういう野菜炒めを期待してたんだよ。うまい。実にうまい。この塩コショウ味のお汁がいいんだよな。実にご飯が進む。
ほらほらゲイチさん、こぼしてますわよ。そんなに焦って食べなくてもご飯は逃げませんのよ。
いや逃げるぞ。出来たてほやほやの最高の味はできた瞬間からどんどん逃げていくんだ。サトコが100美味しく作ったものなら、俺はその100を丸々味わう義務がある。それがクーガーのマナーってもんだ。
それはお気持ちだけで十分ですわ。ですからもっと落ち着いてご飯をお食べなさいませ。
そうだな。悪い悪い。
No insults here. I meekly scratched my head, then put down my chopsticks and laughed along with her as like it was funny. I ended up doing most of the eating. Satoko was barely taking a bite. She seemed satisfied just by watching me enjoy the food so much. Whenever I filled my mouth with more of her delicious meal, Satoko looked glad. That let me enjoy the food even more. In this way, she kept smiling happily the whole time. Looking at her made me feel really happy as well. So we're all some happy motherfuckers. Come on now. The time passed softly and gently. Before, I would have gone back and forth hurling insults with Satoko. In other words, we would have gotten into a fight right away. I had never known I could feel such peace of mind by talking to her honestly like this. I was a little bit happy about having discovered this new side of Satoko. For example, I was eating food that Satoko had made, right? There wasn't an inch of me that thought it was suspicious. Before, however, Satoko would have definitely put some sort of trap into this.
がっつきすぎた。ちょっとトイレに行ってくるぞ。
ちょっとゲイチさん、お食事の最中におトイレに行くのはマナー違反ですわよ。
じゃあなんて言えばいいんだ？接近か？
Yeah.
川屋か？お便所か？
Satoko looked down, her face bright red, and pointed down the hallway as if to say, just go already. Oops, my old habits seem to have come back. But yeah, this wasn't all that bad either. No weird schemes, everything is just natural. And while having such utterly unguarded thoughts, I went into the bathroom. Hug. My foot caught onto something string-like. Uh-oh.
Yakan?
A kettle.
Tarai?
A wash tub.
Satoko!
She got me. I can't believe her. She always does this when I let my guard down. I can't relax for a minute around her. Still, it was kind of funny, and I didn't really feel like getting angry. Satoko, laughing uproariously, came over.
ほらね、ほらね。そろそろ引っかかってくれる頃だと思いましたわ。
When did you have time to do this?
まったくこいつはちょっと気を許すとこれだもんな。
I picked up the wash tubs that had crashed into my head and I went to go hit Satoko with it. But then I doubled over with the laughter that had been welling up inside me, so I couldn't manage it. I wish things could go on like this forever. It's not like I was having the most fun since coming to Hinamizawa or anything, but it was probably the first time that I had spent my day so simply and comfortably. It really wasn't worth much, it was only a few hours after all. As an only child, it was my first taste of having a sibling. Just washing dishes with her felt really nice. Side by side we washed, with the experienced Satoko doing most of the work as I threw in appropriate words to add to the conversation. The scene was so commonplace and yet so mild and warm. Maybe I had felt this kind of warmth before too in the past. I think I've stood next to the sink with my mother like this when I was little. It made me feel nostalgic when I remembered it. It was the same sort of slow, easy time. It was tranquil. Such a quiet tranquility that the fact that I wasn't uneasy about anything itself almost made me uneasy. See, that was a tricky one for me. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maibara. You feel uneasy about something just from spending time so leisurely? There is nothing to feel uneasy about. I mean, why would I be punished for enjoying a gentle life? I would do anything to keep these days going, and I would never do anything bad, no matter what. I would work hard for it and endure much for it. So God, it's not much of a dream to want this kind of thing to keep on going, right? But can't you grant it?
あら、あれは電話の音ではありませんの？こんな夜更けに誰でございましょう？
え、あ、本当だ。
I hadn't noticed until she mentioned it. I hurried to stand up and then ran to the phone. Who could it be at a time like this? It did feel a little like the phone had interrupted my happy moment. But I still wanted to brag about how happy the time I was spending made me, no matter who it was on the other side.
もしもし、はい、前原です。
もしもし、ケイチ？お母さんだけど。
あ、なんだ、母さん、何？こんな時間に。
That was a little cold of me when she was only calling because she was worried about her son. I couldn't help but give myself a dry smile.
その様子だと特にトラブルもなく生活できてるみたいね。
Yeah, how are you guys doing?
母さん、ケイチがご飯を作れなくてひもじくて寝込んでるんじゃないかと心配してたわ。
まあね、なんとかおかげで。
ご飯はちゃんと作れてる？今夜は何を食べたの？
へへ、野菜炒めとご飯と味噌汁だよ。スーパーでいろいろとお惣菜を買ったから何気におかずも豊富でさ。そうそう、聞いてよ。豚肉なんかちゃんとタイムサービスを利用して半額で買ったんだぜ。へへ、主婦の知恵っていうのかな。
What?
それから。
All of that was thanks to Satoko, and that's something I should be proud about. But still, I couldn't help but want to boast about the dinner tonight. It seemed like Mom got the hint that I was in a really good mood.
そう。しっかりやれていて。そうそう、それでね、お父さんとお母さんの仕事がなんとか終わったの。明日の昼か夜には帰れると思うから。
ああ、そうなんだ。
二晩、よく頑張ったわね。こっちも二晩ほとんど徹夜でね。大変だったけど、なんとか先生のイベントは穴を開けずに済みそうよ。
うん、よかったね。お疲れ。
Why did my parents coming home seem so disappointing? I knew a little bit of the reason, of course. This tranquility I never wanted to end was about to end so readily, and it was a little painful. After being asked about what kind of souvenir I wanted from Tokyo and replying that anything edible would be great, I put down the receiver and Satoko appeared, having finished cleaning up her trap. At first, Satoko was in a very good mood, but when she saw me put down the receiver with an uncertain expression, her own clouded over a bit. It seemed like she had gotten the gist of what my phone conversation had been about.
ケイチさんのご両親からですの？
ああ、明日には帰ってくるってさ。
あら、それは良かったですわね。明日のお夕食の面倒はもう見なくていいわけでございますものね。家族で水入らずの食卓を囲みなさいませ。
そんなことないよ。また明日からまた無味乾燥な食卓かと思うとなんだか寂しいよ。
何を贅沢言ってますの。家族みんなで囲む食卓が一番楽しいに決まってますわ。
Her brother Satoshi running away from home came to mind immediately. But there was no gloom in the way she said it.
私も昨日今日と2日間でしたけど、とても楽しいお夕食を取らせていただきましたわ。
ならさ、今度は俺から聡子の家に遊びに行くよ。
え、
Satoko momentarily made a happy smile, but then a second later, it changed to an expression of surprise.
うちは狭くて汚いですわよ。お台所もこんなに立派ではありませんし。
Isn't as good at this one?
俺は別に気にしないぜ。
Gotcha.
でもサトコが嫌なら遠慮してもいいよ。
Satoko shook her head firmly, her whole body expressing
そ
denial.
れに俺サトコにはまだまだいろいろと教えてもらわないとな。ようやく炊飯器の使い方と味噌汁の作り方を覚えた程度だし。
それもそうですわね。これを機会にケイチさんにお料理をお勉強してもらうのもいいかもしれませんわね。
It was so like Satoko to take this chance to proclaim that it was all for my sake. But there was no way to conceal her own enthusiasm. It was true that this gentle time would come to an end when my parents got back. There was no need to lament that though. I could easily put in the effort to continue our mild moments like this. Like yesterday, Satoko told me that she didn't need to be escorted home. But Rika-chan wasn't with her tonight. She would be going home by herself. Everyone knew everyone else's face here in Hinamizawa. So it wasn't like it was dangerous to go out at night, but it still wasn't good to send a girl on her way all alone. At the very least, that's what I thought as Satoko's older brother.
じゃあ学校の近くまで送ってやるよ。あそこまで行けば結構街灯とかあるから大丈夫だろ。
本当に大丈夫なんですのよ。悪い人が現れても指一本で撃退してみせますわ。
There was no point in pressing her anymore on the subject, so I took a handful of Satoko's hair and rubbed her head vigorously.
サトコ、ごちゃごちゃ言うな。
Your Nini will bring you part of the way there. That's what I was about to say when I suddenly got embarrassed and my voice trailed off. Nini could only be the nickname Satoko gave to her older brother and nothing else. I was about to use it pretty lightly, so I started to feel apologetic and a little ashamed.
ニーニー。
Eh? What did Satoko just say?
えっと、
Until every single one of these motherfuckers can read my mind, man.
ケイチさんが兄みたいに見えただけですわ。今の言い方全然違うけど、どこか雰囲気が似てましたもので、つい。
Unless Keiichi Maibara doesn't exist, and it turns out that I'm fucking Satoshi Hojo. Satoko laughed awkwardly and turned red in the face. Of course, I was embarrassed when I saw her too, because the fact that I was trying to act like her brother had gotten across. A warm feeling spread out from my chest. It was completely different from romantic feelings or any of those more impatient emotions. It was much more graceful, quiet, and warm, and calm. Satoko still needed her Nini. I had initially thought Rika-chan was being sly about not coming today, but when I thought about it like this, I could feel a kind thoughtfulness of her worrying about a good friend's feelings. Maybe Rika-chan had understood that she couldn't play the part of a brother herself. So then, nah, let's stop there, Keiichi Maibara. There is no point in thinking about it so hard. It means everyone feels the same way. It means everyone wants Satoko to be happy. Satoko is acting as though her Nini running away from home didn't bother her at all, even though that wasn't actually the case. She was very sad and always waiting for him to come home, because Satoko was a stable person when she was his sister. In order for her to be really this level-headed, having a brother was something she couldn't do without. In other words, Satoko still needed a brother. Nobody had the right to smile it away as childish immaturity. In fact, they deserve praise for being so close to each other as siblings. That role of brother should be played by her real Nini, by Satoshi. But unfortunately, he wasn't here. So since I'm here, I'll play the part. And not with a guilty conscience, but in a very natural way. Because, was there something wrong with seeing Satoko smile so happily?
なんですの、ケイチさん。さっきからずーっとニヤニヤしてますのね。
This is where Tomitaka-kun died.
俺が嬉しそうな顔をしてるとおかしいかな。
別におかしくはありませんけど、
The sound of the motor on her bike light was too loud and I couldn't hear what Satoko said.
え、何？なんて言った？
いえ、本当にどこまでもニーニーに似てますのね。
Do we have to double check that? Let me see here. Settings. Let's just do that for now. And then log. Is it weird for me to look happy? It isn't weird or anything, but I don't know. I could probably keep that, but now I've grown accustomed to this. Now this looks clean. It just looks clean.
そっか？
もちろん本当のニーニーとは全然違うんですけども、こういろいろ
Elaborate.
そういうところが似てますの。本当に不思議ですわね。
I bet we swing a bat the same.
似ているとニーニーを思い出して寂しくなるか？
Once I said that, I thought for a moment that was absolutely the wrong thing to say, but Satoko didn't seem to mind one bit.
別に寂しくなんかありませんわ。こうしてケイチさんがニーニーの代わりになってくれますしね。
As I was flustered for one moment at her hitting the mark, Satoko suddenly asked me a question in a calm voice. It was a very quiet, composed, and adult question.
リカですの？
It was quiet, but her voice sounded lonely somehow.
リカがニーニーの代わりになってくれってケイチさんにお願いしたんじゃありませんの？
そう思うのか？
気を悪くしないでくださいませね。リカって私には変に気を使うんですの。私はそんなに気にしていないのに。
I could say for sure that at least that was a lie. Yesterday and today, Satoko had been so happy spending time like this with me as siblings, and that was proof itself that she was lying about it not getting to her. So I gave Satoko a light poke in the head.
考えすぎだよ、バカ。俺は俺、前原圭一だ。お前のニーニーの北条聡じゃない。
そんなのは分かってますわ。
Despite her saying that, her expression seemed a little lonesome. At this point, Satoko herself had realized that her question had been the wrong thing to say. But didn't need to keep talking about something that Satoko regretted. So in order to cut the conversation short, I grabbed Satoko's head and pet her.
そんなくだらない話はもういいだろう。もう遅いからとっとと帰って歯を磨いて寝ろ。ついでだから寝る前にうがいもしとけ。風邪の予防になっていいぞ。
What?
それを言ったらニーニーもですわよ。ちゃんと歯を磨くんですのよ。うがいもしてお手洗いも済ませて明日の教科書を準備してそれから
I wondered what kind of siblings Satoko and Satoshi were. I've never seen them together, but I could say without a doubt that they were really close. It's kind of disturbing that we still haven't seen a pic of the guy. As for the way in which they were close, it was probably quite like this. It was so cool that the day's heat seemed like a lie, and yet the moonlight was somehow faintly warm. The quiet chorus of the insects was pleasing to the ears. I could see Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun walking over to the gym storehouse. They needed to get the bag of lime used to make the lines on the court for our next gym class. They were on duty today after all. But in that storehouse, a terrible trap was awaiting them.
トラップって仕掛けた側から見ると本当にハラハラするな。
ケイイチさんにもその醍醐味がわかるなら素質がありましたよ。
the two of them fumbled around with the gym storehouse's lock. Oh? What's this? Okumura-kun pointed at the part of the door and started whispering to Tomita-kun. Then, realizing something, they both jumped away from the door.
お、サトコ、バレたみたいだぞ。失敗か？
あの二人が入り口のトラップに気づくのは計算済みですわ。そして次にどういう行動に出るかももちろん計算済みですのよ。
According to Satoko, after they noticed the suspicious trap on the door, they would go around and try to get in through the back window. That's boarded up. And just as she had prophesied, they went around to the back. And just as she had prophesied, they climbed up. And just as she had prophesied, they opened the window and tried to sneak in.
お、すげえ。サトコの読み通りだぞ。あ、かかった。
An explosion of pure white lime burst out of the window. After a few moments, the two of them managed to crawl away from the window, both of them completely white.
この瞬間がたまりませんわね。蜜の味でございましてよ。
いや、しかしよくかかったよな。あんな器用なトラップ。富田くんが窓を登るとき、どこに手を置いてどこに足を置くかとか、どこへ飛び降りるとか。
いいですことケイチさん。トラップの第一歩は相手の観察から始まりますのよ。相手の行動パターンを読み、相手ならこの時こう動くというのを綿密に読み切るんですの。そうすれば必要最低限の仕掛けで最大の効果が狙えるトラップが仕掛けられますのよ。
Come to think of it, before Satoko read the final move at that final moment earlier, Mion had given her high praise, saying that she had the makings of a genius.
トラップは読みが全てってわけか。じゃあつまり過去に俺が引っかかってきたトラップもみんな俺が読まれてるから引っかかってたってわけか。
ええ、私なりにケイチさんの行動パターンを読み切っているからかかるんですわよ。だからケイチさんがある日突然いつもと違う癖やいつもと違うパターンになってしまったらかからなくなってしまうわけですわね。
Bragging that she could anticipate everything I would do, that was kinda mean.
よーし、じゃあさ、なんかゲームをやってみろ。サトコの読みが当たるかどうか試してみろよ。
ええ、いいですわよ。ケイチさんは特に読みやすいですから朝飯前でしてよ。
When we went back to the classroom, Satoko tore off pieces of paper and wrote something on the back of them, making 3 cards. Of course, I didn't know what she had written.
この中の1枚を引いてごらんなさいませ。外れを引かなければケイチさんの勝ちですわ。
よーし、挑戦してやるぜ。部活で鍛え上げられた俺の感性で見事打ち破ってくれる。
Satoko smirks and holds out the 3 cards. Set your mind to full power by calming it, Keiichi Maibara. Cool and collected is how you will win. If I don't pick the losing one, I'll win. Which means if I do pick it, Satoko will win. In other words, Satoko wants me to pick the losing one. What would she do to make sure I pick the losing one? Could she even predict something like that? Statistically speaking, isn't there some rule that says I'm more likely to pick the middle one? Or the ones on the either side? And then, it hits me like a flash. This is what Mion would do.
さあ、どれを取るか決まりまして。
決めたぜ。それはな、これだー。
何をするでございますの？
I steal all 3 cards from Satoko's hands. I predicted what Satoko would do in advance. Satoko wanted to make sure I picked the losing one, which meant all 3 of these were the losing ones.
というわけだ。この3枚改めさせてもらうぜ。
You're a loser.
なんだこりゃ。はずれ外れ。
つまりはそういうこと。1枚しか取らなかったなら外れにはならなかったということですわ。
じゃあ 俺が3枚まとめて引くの読んでいたってのか。
I held my head in my hands and fainted as Satoko reveled at the might of her abilities. Her shrill laughter echoed throughout the classroom. It's clever. And then, there was a poof as lime powder came down upon Satoko's head. I looked to see Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun all in white, dumping a whole bag of lime powder on her, getting their revenge. Hojo! You're the only one who could set up a trick like that!
失礼でございますわね。どこに証拠がございますの？それに罠なんて品のない言い方をやめてほしいですわね。より優雅にトラップと呼んでほしいですわ。
Payback.
いやー、ケイチさん、助けてー。
Our underclassmen crashed around the classroom in furious combat, getting white lime everywhere. Hey Satoko, why couldn't you see this coming exactly? At the time, I hadn't seen something coming too. What? The teacher coming to me afterward and giving us all a stern talking to. Alright, and with that, we are gonna call it an episode. Next episode, we'll move on with the main storyline. Not like there are any side quests. I guess these tips would be considered the side quests, but there's a lot of focus on Satoko, and there is also quite a bit of spotlight on Satoshi, so I'm hopeful that we'll get to know more about him, maybe even see him at some point, even though that seems like a pretty unlikely scenario. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. Until next time, this has been your boy Karagol Gaming. I'm out of here. Love y'all and do see yas.